Hey gang, welcome to another Sunday night premiere, and we're going to be doing things a little differently tonight. This is part one of what will be two parts of a very intriguing story that has a paranormal aspect to it, and we are going to cover the story of the 16-year-old boy who was killed in an auto wreck. We're going to walk to his grave here. And this part one will be on the Faces of the Forgotten channel here on this premiere you're watching. And 30 minutes from now, we can all flip over to another channel to investigate the paranormal aspects of this story on IQ channel, which is our sister channel, Intangible Quests. So make sure you get subscribed. The link will be in the bottom. I'll have it at the end of this episode. You can just click on the link when we're all finished and you can get there and get ready. Take a pee break, grab some more popcorn, and we'll start part two. Those of you who are into paranormal, if not, just watch this one. We'll end it here. Now, I was on my way to my cabin, northwest Wisconsin. I pivoted here to Minneapolis, St. Paul, because I really, really want to do this story. It's Halloween. We're going to kick off the month now with this story. And Megan, one of our viewers, has been bugging me for a long time. It's been almost 2 years, and the more I've been digging into this, I'm like, I've got to do this story. It is very intriguing. So let's take a walk. We're here in Roseville, which is a suburb of St. Paul, and it's Roselawn Cemetery. Very beautiful place, very large cemetery here. Now, this story of this boy, his name was John Boulware. And like I said, he was 16 years old. And it was just a couple of days after Christmas. And he was with his three friends. And they were going to a rock concert. It was December 27th, 1984. Now, you know, all teenagers, 16 years old, just got your driver's license, probably not wearing seatbelts. And it was a night that was, well, it was late. It wasn't late, it was after dark, and they're going to this concert. And it was drizzling rain, misty, it was foggy. It was one of those nights, and they are clipping along here at a pretty good speed down this dark road, and this road had this curve to it, and it was an unusual curve in that, well, it was a 90-degree curve. It's one of those curves I call it just like keeps going. You keep thinking you're going to come out of it. We have a curve like that coming off our highway at 53 North, where I've seen a lot of people wipe out because they think, okay, this is the curve, and we're coming out of it, but we're not, and they're just not going slow enough, and then that next thing you know, they just slide right off. Now, John was sitting in the front seat, passenger, and he was basically leaning against the door, kind of looking at the driver. Well, the car slid off the road and hit this grouping of small trees, and we're going to see those trees. In part two, we're going to go there, and it just wrapped its front end around these trees really bad. They must have been going probably 40 miles an hour, maybe 50. And it was very poorly lit there. I mean, there was very dark, a lot of trees. And it was, you know, as it happens, it was instant. Now, of course, the police were called, and they came out, and the officers, you know, they were the first on the scene, and what do they see? They see three boys standing there, pointing at the car, and they said, our friend is in there, and he's hurt. So what does the officer do? He walks up to the car, he looks inside, and there's John, and he said that it was basically looked like he was crunched under the dashboard, and it looked like he was almost asleep. He didn't have any blood on him. Didn't look like he had any injuries. Well, he quickly determined that John had died, sadly. And so, first responders were coming, and they said, well, let's get on with our work. What do? They start drawing their diagrams, taking their notes, making their reports. But where it gets really interesting is that he started taking pictures, the one officer. And this is 1984, he's using the 35 millimeter film. And okay, everything's done. Now, a couple days later, the lab technician called. And actually, the lab technician in those days, it was St. Paul Police, in those days, they did all their evidence processing themselves. And the guy calls him up, it's one of his fellow officers, and he's like, you better come down here, you're going to want to see this. So the officer comes down, and they meet, and he had processed all the pictures from the scene of the accident, and they pull this one out. And the officer who took the pictures, his jaw just dropped. And whose wouldn't when you see this picture? Because basically, you look at the picture, the one picture of the many that he took, above the hood of the car where John is laying. While he's laying there is a manifestation. It looks like an image of a profile of a boy screaming. That's right. Now, when I first heard this story, I got to Deb, our ancestry helper, and I said, yeah, I don't know. What did he look like? What did John look like? So she finally found a picture of him. And when I opened my email, I saw that picture, my jaw dropped, because I was like, that's him. Whoa, that is him. So there's the boy, and they say that was his soul leaving his body. Now think about it, that picture was taken literally minutes. Now, he probably died. He may have still been alive and passed just before the police officer took his pulse. So you have to imagine he was only dead a few minutes, maybe a half hour at the most. So the conjecture is that his soul was leaving his body and he was screaming the words, no. Now, everyone's going to have to make up their own minds on that. And I will say you'll probably want to come along with me as we close this out at his grave for the part 2, because we're really going to get into it, because there were other things in this picture that are very spooky to say the least. So his grave is over here. Now, I drove up here, I had it located, and the only way I was able to find it was I was able to pinpoint the section, location, and march this off, because this boy has been forgotten. There is no way you could find this grave. And as I walk here, I'm looking, all right, yeah, over here. It's by this pile of sticks. So this is his grave right here. And you can just see a little bit of his name right there. John Rarig Bulwer. And December 27th, that I know is the night that he died. So, what I will do is I'm going to put the camera down here. And I brought some gloves with me. Oh boy, this is, I don't know if this is going to stand up because, hold on. Let's go over here. The ground is pretty sloped. So let's see if we can, here we go. So I'm going to try and clean this up. I did not bring anything but these gloves. So I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to have to carry a little toolkit in the car. It's funny, I have my snake camera and flowers and all this stuff, but I don't have a whisk broom. And I have a whisk broom at home, but I'm going to have to start bringing all that stuff with me. But this is pretty bad. Oh wait, this has not been attended to for years, because this name's John. We have to get all the way over here. We're gonna do it though. We're gonna do it. All right, we got that done. Let's pay our respects. So here rests John. He left his body with a lot of unfinished business. Young guy, he did not want to leave this world, and if you believe that is his soul, you will know that he was yelling something like, "No, I don't want to go." But he's in a better place now. So John, we hope you're resting in peace. Rest in peace. Okay, so we are going to head right now to the other channel, Intangible Quests. And if you want to come along, just click on the link below, or the one that appears up on the upper right. We'll see you there.